Is it time?
Yeah. Cut the brakes, head straight for the fast life. Out the way, lightning or green lights. I race hell, red shell at the finish line. Yeah, I'm not one of the stars. I gaze from afar like Copernicus. Friend or foe, it's a fine line. No will blow, it's a fine line. If the motor rock and roll, live or dying, it's a fine line. Ideas a mile, a minute, let me write them out. Don't hide my feelings anymore, I invite them out. Rocky road to recovery, I'll write it out mellow. Entendres in every line, biblical, I'm on every device like the FBI. Literal, friend or foe, it's a fine line. No or blow, it's a fine line. Fit the motor, rock and roll, live or dying, it's a fine line. Cool or cold, it's a fine line. Sell or sold, it's a fine line. Fit the motor, rock and roll, live or dying, it's a fine line. Yeah! Yeah, I'm not one of the stars. I gaze from afar like Copernicus. Friend or foe, it's a fine line. No or blow, it's a fine line. Fit the motor, rock and roll, live or dying, it's a fine line. Cool or cold, it's a fine line. Sell or sold, it's a fine line. Fit the motor, rock and roll, live or dying, it's a fine line. Every day all I see is red. You know there's bad weather, dark clouds ahead. Can't tumble back on my track, I gotta know where to go. Oh, oh, oh. Losing track of the days and nights, and not the energy to sing to myself anymore. Cause I'm begging for warmth, I'm alone and so cold. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'll be in the morning sun, and when the night is new, everywhere you stare, I'll be looking back at you. Yeah, your love gave me life, your love was the fire, lighting up my heart, but I'm going dark, I'm going dark. Either way you stand and it's not on my side, nothing can make this right, I'm going dark, I'm going dark. I'll just close my eyes, I'm going dark. Nothing's changed, but it's not the same. Turn my future into a memory. Haven't heard not a word you don't write anymore. No, no. I'll be in the morning sun, and when the night is new, everywhere you stare, I'll be looking back at you. Yeah, your love gave me life, your love was the fire, riding up my heart, but I'm going dark, I'm going dark. Either way you stand and it's not on my side, nothing can make this right, I'm going dark, I'm going dark. I don't understand, am I out of my mind? Guess I'll just close my eyes, I'm going dark, going dark. All I see is red, won't make it home. I'll just close my eyes, I'm going dark.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guests are passionate about. We are very lucky, excited, thrilled, over the moon, doubly excited, doubly experienced, doubly moving, doubly bubbly, everything. I love these guys. We've got Ian and Brock of Double Experience.
Huzzah.
Doubly.
Yeah, man, it's so awesome. You guys are an awesome band, friends of mine, friends of my band. We have history, good history, the kind that you like.
And now we get to make history being the first 3-headed episode of All Worn Out.
Yeah, well, I've done it like before in the old days with the other setup against the wall, but with the new backdrop.
Yes.
You guys are number one.
The new
That's
era.
us. Yeah.
The new era, exactly. The one with the swirling tornado.
It's so rad.
Yeah, man. And you know, I like also the light. The way the light is like yellow on us from the sign is like kind of chill. I like it.
It's a good sign.
All right, guys, let's dig in. You just did 2 awesome performances for us, which I play first at the beginning of the episode. Let's talk about song 1. What was it called?
Song 1's called Fine Line.
So it's something that we've been working on for probably the last couple of months, getting it ready. We're kind of in pre-production mode, getting ready to go into the studio. And so that's one of the songs that we're really excited about to take it into the next stage of doubly experience.
doubly. Sorry. Double. Oh, yes, it was awesome.
Thank you.
That performance was amazing.
Thank you.
Like, honestly, everything. You guys are always tight, professional, a band that I think we learned a lot from. I think everyone in this city, if they get to work with you guys, they learn a lot. For example, I don't know if Alex, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Alex, but maybe I am. But I don't even know if he knew what a Sans amp was before he met you, Ian. You know, like, well, I'm sure he did, but like, I don't think he used one. You know, and you had that influence right away, I think. Now, maybe I don't know that, Alex. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it.
Well, Alex and I had a nice chat about that Sans amp, and
Yeah.
him and I have traded bass tones a couple times on shows and stuff. So
It's friendly.
yeah, he frigs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we had those, I remember we did JJ Wild together, and I remember you guys had a laptop, and is this a common thing where Double Experience has other backing tracks or other musical instruments coming through that way?
Yeah, believe it or not, we don't bring the laptop to game on stage. We're making sounds out of these devices, and it definitely is, I guess, indicative of the fact that Ian and I are kind of like the nucleus of the band, and if we had it our way, we would collaborate with like our own E Street band, but as a DIY band, those days are far away from us, so the laptop definitely helps to kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah, I think like Brock and I like to like study songwriting and we get into it. And one of the things is when it's just a guitar, a bass, a voice, we found it not limiting, but we thought we could expand kind of the sound that we wanted to have on stage. And so being able to use those extra tracks just helps beef things up. All the guitar solos done by this guy, all the vocal solos done by this guy, right? So it's not like we're replacing important aspects. It's more so extra padding and atmosphere for the band.
Totally.
Yeah. I think it adds a professional edge, and it's artistic, right? Like, you guys are doing it for artistic purposes, so it comes out amazing. And it's just different. So that's why I wanted to highlight it, that not everybody, like for myself personally, I would be overwhelmed. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But I guess, do you guys have roles in this band? Do you guys have like I'm the tech master, or I'm the person who books shows? Or
I think we have those roles, but not because the other people aren't allowed to be in those roles,
right.
But it's sort of like a divide and conquer mentality of like, not any one person can do it all. No man is an island. And it helps everyone be involved to like appeal to their skill set. Like the thought of having to cold call people 50 times in a row is terrifying to me. Thankfully, Ian can take that up and extrapolate that to every other kind of thing. Like we are the yin and yang to each other. So,
yeah. Well, and even, I mean, on the tech front, like Brock, we kind of had talked a little bit, and maybe we'll get into it later, but Brock and I do a lot of online Twitch streaming. And so I have no idea how that process works.
Okay.
But do you want me to bring all of the mixing and mastering of our demos to life? Yes, that is where I can shine on that. So it's like, even from a tech perspective, both Brock and I, we have different skill sets, and a lot of the times they do get to come together in different interesting ways.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So it's shared. You guys share everything. It's not like it's like, oh, you have to do everything technical, Brock, and I will do everything autistic.
Yeah.
No, you both get to dip into both pools and mix and match, and that's great. That's amazing. So the thing with Double Experiences is the game connection, obviously. Like, you guys grew up as gamers?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe, like, for me, I was kind of behind in getting our systems, but we got like a Nintendo when everyone was getting the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then we got like a Sega Genesis because like we convinced we were yelling at our parents to buy this vacuum cleaner because it came with a free Sega Genesis package. And so we got that, and it was very, very exciting. And my best friend always had every system. So as soon as N64 came out, he had it. As soon as PlayStation came out, he had it, and so on and so forth. So that I didn't even really need to buy it. I could just run over to his house and be like, let's do this, you know?
That was definitely like my experience as like growing up. My dad was famous when I was growing up. He would say, when video games can get you a job, I will buy you video games. And so famous last words now, right? But I always had friends who had the video game consoles. And so I would exactly that. I would just go over to their place and play and play and play.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, Warren. Like, because that to me was like going over to a friend's house to play video games is like a precursor to going over to have band practice. Like, it kind of teaches you, let's get together. And like, no one's playing instruments at that point, but it's you're kind of starting okay, there's more fun to be had outside my bedroom. Let's go and make friends and bond over common interests. So, which, to answer your question, I think that's why Double Experience makes video game music, because Ian and I started our friendship as like 20-year-olds, where he'd come over to my place and we'd play Call of Duty during Double Experience weekends, and we'd kind of talk about the upcoming band practice while
Oh, we're back. Okay, sorry. It looked like it froze, but we're back for now. Yay! Yeah, so I played that zombie game, and it was kind of almost too much for me because I was from that previous generation and like the graphics, and it was scary, but I've always kind of been scared by horror movies and that type of genre anyways, but...
So is he, so...
Yeah, like my friends were like, why did you get overwhelmed? Like, just shoot them. I'm like, it's scary, man.
They come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and so I loved SNES and that generation, N64. Like, I remember us getting together 4-player to play GoldenEye.
Yeah.
That was like what you're talking about, getting out of the house or playing Smash Bros.
Exactly.
You know? And then after that, everything changed with PlayStation. It kind of became a different monster, and Call of Duty was kind of that callback, I think, to get people playing together again like that.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, and it's funny, like, to kind of tie the bow on all of that. Like, I think my earliest memories of music is like the video game soundtrack. So you're kind of just sitting there all by yourself, and Chrono Trigger is playing in the background, like whatever the games may be. So you get older and people say like, hey, country music. And it's like, oh, Donkey Kong, like what, where, right? So it's like a lot of it is like, for me, it was video games first. And as you say, like the Super Nintendo had this like amazing diet of like composers like Dave Weiss to kind of just like, sort of like, prime you to be having an ear for interesting music that keeps you engaged, even if it's only looping a 2-minute part, right? So writing then pop music thereafter, it's had a real kind of neat effect on how we think about music, you know?
Absolutely. I loved, for example, I watch a lot of YouTube, and the angry video game nerd guy always comments on the music. On whatever game he's talking about, it's a major point, it's a major factor if the music is awesome or if they just did no work and no thought. Yeah. And it is some of the most memorable music, like, ever. And like that's Super Mario themed shit will be imprinted in my brain till I die, you know, and just no choice in the matter.
And too, it's like, it's a very like kind of like 60s, 70s thing where like, you know, you look at these records that were made with like X amount of tracks, certainly not hundreds and not with laptops. And you look at how video games are like, we're going to do beep, boop, and then like just stack them on top of each other and make this stuff. You're just like, just totally, the craftsmanship is like, you know, kind of cut from the same cloth, I think.
Okay, so then you guys you're gamers. When did you pick up a guitar?
Unofficially, it was some kind of badminton racket when I was 3, and I would pretend. And officially, I only really started playing guitar, and then soon after with bands when I was like 14, 15. Like I don't know if it's a late bloomer, but that's when I started.
14, 15, still you were in bands at that age?
Well, just trying to get together and say, hey, can we put down Goldeneye and pick up guitars?
But when did you so did you know anything about the guitar yet, or you wanted to learn with these people? Or
I think just like I had seen it, you know, sort of like as like a, you know, on TV, whatever. Right? We all come from the golden era of MTV and Much Music and things such as. So I think you're entertained by that too. And that looks great and fun to do. And again, to Ian's point about his dad, I certainly wasn't seeing people on TV going professional video games. So it just seemed like, oh yeah, that's not a job that this could be. And
interesting,
you know, so
cool. And did you know Ian at 14 or 15?
No, we met way later in life.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And so, Ian, what about you? When did you start singing? When did you realize you wanted to sing?
So I was always a guitar player long before I was a singer. Like I never thought that I was a singer. I did like the kids choir in church when I was like 5 years old.
Right.
Like no one's good at 5 years old. Kind of and so, but I was always like the guitar player, and I was like, yeah. And it was always like in grade 6, I just remember trying to form a band with friends, and they were like, well, I can't sing and I can't sing. And I was like, I guess I'll sing. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was probably like 15 or 16 that I realized I was a better singer than I was a guitar player. Like I think it just singing, I guess because it's a natural thing, came way more naturally to me than like having to understand the theory of guitar. And I think I always treated the instrument as a means to sing over, even if I wasn't actively thinking about that. So, but I picked up a guitar at 10 and started lessons, and then kind of, you know, that's what sort of led me to here.
Cool. Lessons starting at 10, that's pretty young. And like you stuck with it for a number of years?
Yeah, I think I played guitar religiously until I was about 18, 19, maybe even 20 when we started working together around there, because I think that's when I realized I can play cowboy chords and I can just use it as a songwriting thing. And to me, that's all I ever
wanted from it. Like you're talking and I'm going, yeah, that's why I never got good at guitar, because as soon as I can play good enough to sing, then my focus is changed and I'm worried about singing. And I'm just like, oh, wow, sounds okay. This sounds good enough, you know? It's just a weird mentality, but that's why I don't play guitar on stage at all. But you play bass now. And when did you make that move to a bass?
So I was in grade 9. And I guess high school education and even late stage elementary school education, it was like, learn the recorder, learn this instrument. And I always wanted to have a stringed instrument. And my parents and by extension me didn't want me to play like the trumpet or anything else. So like grade 6, grade 7 music class, there was a bass in the corner that I would just like touch because it was that or xylophone.
Okay.
And then I wanted to do music in high school. And so it was like picking up the bass. But I only did it for 1 year in high school.
Have again that parallel.
Yeah, interesting, right?
With the xylophone and the bass in the room, and which one are you going to take?
Yeah.
And then the teacher being like, look, Warren, I need you to do the xylophone for the band in grade 7 and 8. She's like, I need you to do it. You did piano lessons. Can you just, it's easy.
Cool. Yeah.
And you could do it. I'm like, it's so nerdy. I'm like, fine, but I get to do the bass in class. In class, I'm playing the bass. And I never got good at bass, but I've always loved it. And I find myself becoming like more and more addicted to like bass line hooks and, you know, going after, again, I'm mentioning Alex, going after me like, give me some more bass lines, give me something there. And, you know, because the vocalists, we just like those nice riffs that we can go off of. And all of a sudden there's a melody that just pops in your head so easily when you get a good riff, right? And
I mean, if I may say, it's an interesting dynamic and double experience, because as Ian's the singer and has 8 years, is that what you said, getting guitar education?
Yeah.
and is now a bassist. Wasn't originally the bassist, but had shifted into that role. So he understands like 3/4 of what goes into the sound of Double Experience, which is kind of an interesting, like, because you talk about, you know, the roles in a band and things such as, but I guess like musically, Ian kind of knows where everyone's coming from. Of like, I know the guitar player wants to have fun, but this is now still a device for singing, and I know singing's fun, but how's the bass player gonna? So it's like he kind of has to take all that into consideration and be a front man still. So it's like it's pretty nice to have someone that's like knows where you're coming from when creating.
Awesome. That's nice of you, Brock, to give him some love. I like that. I like band love. And especially like you guys must be like brothers now. You guys formed in 2011.
Yeah, pretty well. That's when we started playing together in those years of, you know, then eventually it's like, hey, can we put Call of Duty down? And right. Yeah. So it's like, right. And keep doing the music. So that was, ever since 2011. We met in the Ottawa music scene. We were in different bands, and we kind of just would see each other at, there's this band
nice
again. You know, it's like, hey, you want to come play our town? And did some show swaps. And that was really just sort of like we were just, oh yeah, he's doing his thing, he's doing our thing. But 2011, we actually sealed the deal.
Yeah. Joined forces, played on the same team.
Yeah.
And did somebody have a plan? How did it become so synchronized? Like that you guys would be united on, we're doing the gamer style music, we're doing it with these influences, because the influences you guys mention, I hear them. Sometimes bands go, oh, we're influenced by these bands. And I'll go, I do not hear those bands, but I will not say that out loud.
Right.
But with you guys, it's like, Weezer, Muse, Coheed, and Cambria. Yes, I hear all of these bands immediately in a great way. Like I can hear the influences, but I can also hear this sound that is like gamer in a way, which I find you guys always pull across, but in the most pop sensitive, God, it's classy stuff. Like, so, I really like it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we get to set the record straight on this whole, how do we get simpatico on this?
Yeah.
And so Coheed and Cambria, for those who don't know, sci-fi, kind of like, you know, the USA's answer to Rush, I guess.
God, I love Coheed.
And so, you know, there's like a science fiction aspect to their music, and I was aware that the producer who did their first album was a guy named Jason DeZuzio, based in New Jersey. So when we worked with him, he kind of taught us about like, you know, like the nerd stuff's cool, but like pop and hooks. And he was kind of thinking that way, because he was on his way out. He was like, it's my last record I'm going to do. And you guys seem pretty earnest in your like fandom of Coheed. So I'll do it. But I'm headed to LA, where he went on to do like Imagine Dragons. And he wrote the song Thunder, which people know is this, you know, the song that will not die on radio or something. So
that song is like 100% hook, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like there is nothing about that song that is not a hook.
Yeah. So on Ian and I's first project together, we got schooled by Jason, and then his recommendation was you should talk to this manager he knew. And we were late to the meeting because we were playing Diablo, that's a video game. And literally the manager was like, man, I wonder if like, because he was like, you guys are just such dweebs, right? But then he was like, he literally was like, I wonder if that would work though. I wonder if like a band being kind of dorky. And he's like, well, like, nice to meet you. Thanks for lunch. We went our separate ways. And then we left that being like, man, maybe he is right. Like, so it was this earnest. Like, do you remember that though?
I remember the burger joint.
Yeah.
I remember like, it was in New York. And I remember him just going, well, what are you guys down for? And we're like, no, like we drove down for the meeting. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you know, like I'm leaving in 10 minutes kind of thing. Like, I vividly remember that meeting, and I remember us, we call them hotbox sessions, where it's like Brock and I like just brainstorm while we're like in a vehicle. And I remember like the however long, it's 11-hour drive back from New York that day, just literally.
We birthed the idea of what would become Double Experience on that drive home.
And it took more planning, and it took a lot of like finessing to figure that one out. But by the time that we were ready to pull the trigger on it, and it wasn't for another year or two after that meeting that we really pulled the trigger on becoming Double Experience. But it that definitely laid the foundation for what we thought we wanted to be, and it allowed us to execute it.
Yeah. I was going to say, because your comment about the influences not being worn on sleeve, when we were talking to the manager, he says, how would I even market this? And we're like, oh, we're like, and we mentioned 3 stadium-sized rock bands. He goes, but you don't sound like that at all, right? And so I guess like the heart of his conversation made us go like, who are we? Like, what is us? And why isn't it in the music? And that's, for better or worse, has been when everyone's like nerd rock. And because we're like, yeah, but like Queen and Weezer and all these bands, like we're not even the first to sing about Star Wars, and Led Zeppelin with Lord of the Rings and stuff, right? So it's like we're almost in our own way being like, it just clicked that, like, yes, no one thinks of Led Zeppelin as a nerd rock band, but they were pretty preoccupied with Lord of the Rings, you know?
Oh, yeah, they were. And gosh, and they're definitely nerdy dudes. A lot of those guys were definitely. John Paul Jones was like a nerdy, smart man.
Right.
And, nothing wrong with that. And you guys do have, like I said, this very slick, pop, sensitive way about your songs with the rock, where I'm like, I don't even like calling it nerd rock because of that. Because like you almost get like I've heard nerd rap before.
Yeah,
and
nerdcore. Yeah.
And nerdcore rap, it's like they're rapping about nerdy stuff. And I don't know, it seems to fit it more. Like you guys have a real rock edge. Like I said, every time I hear you guys and I hear another song come out, I'm like, that should just be like on the radio everywhere. Like it should just be played. It's awesome. And yeah, man. And I know when you do get to hear, like, you have heard your song on radio before, and like it is a great feeling. It is really cool.
Yeah.
But the world is changing, and you guys picked up on some of this and you dove into Twitch.
Yeah.
And how's that going?
We're still kind of in the thick of like change, it feels like, because we were able to work with the Twitch music staff a couple years ago, when most of us could do is sit in our rooms in front of cameras. And I think the word from the staff was really like, we still had people in Twitch being like, what, you can do music on here? Like people at Twitch, like I thought people just played Fortnite on here. And there was a whole division of their staff. And like, no. Like their vision was that they wanted every artist in the world, like how every artist is expected to have a Facebook account, an Instagram account, YouTube account. Twitch were like, our vision is this is such like conducive to performing and connecting with people, that they really were trying to rewrite the idea that Twitch is a place where people stream Fortnite to it's where you share what you're passionate about real time.
Yeah, and it has become a place of community, I think, and not just for us. Like if you look at any channel, almost every streamer will refer to, well, I'm so grateful to my community. And so I think Twitch does really well is allowing a place for community to happen. And we've created this amazing group of people who have either known our band because they listen to our music, or they stumbled upon us on the Twitch algorithm, or like, they've been brought in by a raid, which is when a channel finishes broadcasting and takes them with us. And so, we've created this collective of people who have really kind of bought into our band that way, and sort of allowed us to do amazing, cool things that I don't think either Brock or myself thought you could A, do as a musician, but B, ever dreamed that we could do. And it's allowed us to like throw open the door to our creative process, to show off what we do, how we do it. And it's allowed us to make fans in markets that, especially when things shut down, we couldn't go back to Germany. We couldn't go back to England. How can we stay connected with those fans? And Twitch was and continues to be an amazing medium to connect with people outside of our city.
So you guys have performed in 17 countries.
Yes, sir. So it's like the number out of the fish keeps getting bigger somehow, because like some bio says 17, some say, right, but it's
the bio I read said 17.
And that's the thing. And it's like some say 18. Sometimes Ian gets excited and says we played on the moon already. I don't know, but it's like
in my dreams. Yeah.
Definitely double-digit countries for sure. Whatever I just don't want to be misquoted when I say it's actually 19.
It gets complicated, because then it's like, here's the existential question of what's a country? And right. And then all of a sudden it's like, depending on your answer, we're in the 20s, or we're in the low teens, or we're in the mid teens. So 17 feels safe. But,
okay. Fair enough. I mean, that's still really cool. I mean, what are these like countries that you're talking about? Like, I don't know if they're a country. Like, what are these places?
Okay. So
are these like territories?
So I'm about to offend everyone who lives in Britain. But so from a Canadian standpoint, when you look at Britain,
right?
Well, so England, or
UK,
the United Kingdom, is a country, right? But in the UK, it's England and Wales England and Wales is a country, right? Northern Ireland is its own country.
Oh, totally.
And Scotland is its own country.
Totally.
So, and there are other divisions like that in Europe. as well. So it all depends on like how you define that.
Okay.
But
Fair enough. And
yeah,
still Europe. And then have you done anything in South America?
No, not South America.
That's why I'd love to get there, just because of the Rolling Stones documentaries, because of how crazy they treat those guys. I just would love to see a piece of that.
Oh yeah.
But also I'd love to get overseas to England. I mean, that's a great goal. And I think a lot of musicians aspire to do that, but you guys have actually done it.
Not to dive too into the weeds of all of that, but we literally found it was actually easier for a Canadian band to go to this allied country that is the UK, and at the time with a Schengen visa, go to the rest of Europe, because trying to go into the States was incredibly difficult, still is incredibly difficult, only gets more difficult. So we just kind of weighed it up and went, it is actually easier, even having to worry about renting equipment and potentially, as the further we get into Europe, speaking different languages. That's easier than just applying for a visa for the USA. Do you know what I mean? So it just was a practical decision more than we really want to go to the UK.
Yes, and that is still the case. And like you said, it's only getting more difficult, especially as of late.
Yeah.
But I mean, we digress. Us peaceful, crazy, fun-loving Canadians. I just love everybody. I can't get mad at them because of one crazy dude.
No.
But
it's always like, I mean, irrespective of that, it's just like, as a band, even before, like the first time we went to the USA, it was like, oh, here are the visa dues. I'm like, oh, great. And it's like per person. And we're like, wait, what? And it's like, oh yeah, this price is for every person coming over. And then like that tripled right? So you're just like, this is bananas, right?
Yeah, you do the math and you're like, literally, it's very similar at the time to just buy a plane ticket for 3-4 of us than it was to pay the dues, pay the visa itself. And then the other issue that we run into, and the US is a little bit different, but it's still very similar, is the distances between places that you can play are vast. And it only gets worse in Canada. And so it made sense to go to Europe and the UK, because there's 60 million people who live on this island that fits in between Windsor and Ottawa, right? And
exactly.
So there's, now all of a sudden there's 50, 60 places you can play within an 800 kilometer zone. Whereas like even in the States, you're like, well, it's Detroit, it's New York. Yes, like there are smaller markets, but if you want to play these major markets and start to find people to network with, even the drives between are like 4 hours. If you want to get to, if you want to go from Pittsburgh to Buffalo, you're looking at 2.5, 3 hours. It's like in 2.5, 3 hours, we've played 5 different major cities in the UK for the same amount of gas, made 5 times the amount of money.
Yeah. Population density is a real thing. And I have heard that, people seem to go out more and go out to see live shows in UK or Germany, Spain. And you guys have done those places, I think, right?
And everything you've heard, Warren, is correct in terms of like, I mean, because with everything being kind of so compact, you could actually, and it was encouraged to be like, go to this bar, check it out a bit, walk 3 steps, right? And I think like then from like a marketing perspective, we really just have to put like a Canadian flag in the show poster, and everyone's like, oh my God, there's like Canadians in town. Like that's crazy. But you go to like Detroit or upstate New York and go, hey, there's Canadians in town. They're like,
great.
And then
you know what I mean? Like,
come back, and like you said, you have to communicate with them because of, COVID and all the crazy shit that happened and prices going up, and you guys did the Twitch thing, killing it. But then you still went down and you recorded, or you have done a lot of recording in North Carolina?
Yeah. And that was something where even back in 2011, shortly after Jason went to California, we were like, well, we couldn't find someone suitable in Canada at the time to record with. But Al was doing like the kind of the early recordings of another band that we liked called He Is Legend. And we were just like, let's go to the woods in North Carolina and get away from the winter. So we treated like a little bit of a sabbatical, but also like, hey, we felt we were kind of in similar size, where he had just opened his home studio, literally just above his garage, and was trying to, expand his clientele. So we saw an opportunity there to be like, hey, like we're a Canadian band. Let's start what is now a, decades long relationship with Al, right?
What gave you guys the confidence and the belief and everything you needed to do to push it, to jump, to go out, to go overseas, to do all these things? Like, what was there a moment? Was there a song?
I think as an artist, and it doesn't necessarily, this doesn't have to be true external to the bubble you're living in, but the bubble that you're in, you have to believe that you're good. You have to believe that the songs are there, and you have to believe that you're ready. And if you walk that walk, then all of a sudden you can start to make those things happen. Because like, if you're sitting there going, well, I don't know that we're like, if we were saying about that, had that feeling of, I'm not sure we're ready, and we went down to, or we were thinking about going down to New York, if that didn't happen, we would have never met Jay. We would have never met the 5 or 6 slogans that we keep in the back of our mind when we songwrite. And then who knows what our band would look like. And I think it's like, when you see an opportunity or you set a goal out, you got to jump at it and you got to achieve it.
If I may, too, in this modern age where it is easy to be a freak in the Excel sheets and to study data and these insights that us artists are like thankfully able to have access to.
Yeah.
But I think like as you study it, that can really kind of lead to a paralysis, because you're like, well, the data doesn't back up this like shoot from the hip decision I could be making right now, which is like, because like as you say, like on paper, driving to New Jersey to work with someone you've never met is almost like ill-advised. The data might not back it up, but if you have that young sort of like stubborn spirit, if you like, and carry that with you as long as you can to go, let's just do it, let's just see what happens, right? Have that open heart to just go, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think artists like, and this isn't to say max out your credit cards, kids, but like I think artists get so tripped up over essentially what is like $100, $200, and it's like, it's like, it does not cost a lot of money if you're like, let's drive to New York.
Right,
okay,
right.
It's 3 tanks of gas from here, maybe. So you're like, it's $150.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like, you're going to spend that. You're going to spend 100 of that going to Toronto and back kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. So it's like,
and if you're touring, right, you should almost be tempted to go drive to your furthest point and go, man, we could just head home right now, and I've had a blast. It's been an adventure. It's like, I have enjoyed this little journey, right? So I think it's like, when you are excited about that part, the show's like a coincidence. Like, oh, we're playing in, Texas tonight. You're just like, yeah, great. Let's go back to like, broing down and making those memories, right?
I honestly don't get the sense that either of you is more passionate about the band than the other, which is honestly interesting. Like, normally you would pick up on a band. I think you can pick up different vibes and where people feel their passion for that project. But what I get from the both of you is this resoluteness and absolute belief in one another. And I think that's amazing, and it's beautiful, and it's obviously key to your success and everything you guys have created so far. Is wow. Like, I just get that you guys are unified and you've been through it. You've been through the trenches. You jumped out of the plane together. And it's just like, we're flying. Yeah.
I think, so I'm not keeping count, but like, we might have 2,000 shows under us, maybe, between all the little performances. We've got however many countries, depending on your definition. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we have all these activities that we've done together. And I think it tempers that steel where, like, when we have played show 0, sure, we're like, we all have different ideas of what we think our band is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But, you get on the road and you get tired and you learn how to live with each other. And all of a sudden, this idea of a shared vision, like, you don't even have to think about what's the vision that we wrote down in our notepads. It becomes like you're in lockstep with each other because of the amount of stuff that you've gone through, and I think overall it's been a boon to us to just say, fuck it, let's get in the van and play a show to nobody in Brandon, Manitoba.
Yeah.
Because you experience these things together, and it allows you to go, did that work? Did that not work? How could we do it better? And through those conversations, you get to be on the same page. And because of like, it like Brock said earlier, we like to collaborate with people, but our band is just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have this really great vision of what we want it to be.
Right.
And it's nice to see that or to hear that from the outside.
Oh yeah.
that
Yes.
feels
It comes very strongly through that you guys have gone through it and you want to, and you know what you're doing together as a plan. And I think also you're both knowledgeable about just manifestation in general. And like you were talking about the band and the drive home, and then 2 years later, and it's like, yeah, well, sometimes manifesting something takes years.
Yeah.
It's not a thing where it's like we pop it out of thin air and you pop your beer out of the fridge and happy instant gratification. It's like you have to work it slow.
Well, and that 2-year gap between that genesis of that idea and then implementing it, we gave ourselves permission to almost like find that rock bottom and try the stuff out, because we're on the fringes. Like, nobody is looking right now. Like, we can make crazy mistakes and take chances, because then when we go, okay, knowing what we liked and didn't like and what worked and what didn't work, you can hit the ground running on the new thing. But it's like, hey, we have permission now to like, you kind of throw away all that preciousness. And because like, I think with so many bands, it makes sense that, yeah, you have this make or break mentality. But again, it goes back to that thing of like, but don't let that fear of potentially, that song we didn't do. It's like, just put it out, it's like, just release it. Like, be engaged with the process, not the result. And then,
yes.
It's hard, right? Like, you know what it's like,
dude,
as an artist.
I've been so fortunate to have Alex Pellerin, in a band with me for 7-8 years now, or whatever it is, and form a bond which I feel is in the same vein as what you guys have achieved. But I still think the number of years and the number of shows you guys have done and the number of experiences is still something I haven't quite gotten to yet. And any band, I mean, gosh, you know how difficult it is. You have to get everyone in the canoe and everyone has to row at the same time.
Yeah,
and none of this, look at the moose. No, look ahead. Oh, look, there's don't look at the pretty girl. Look ahead. Yeah. Or whatever it might be. You're just trying to keep everyone rowing in that one line together. And then, gosh, in a band with 5 people, I'll just tell you.
We've been there.
Oh, we've been there.
Gosh, it's real interesting, folks, because you're trying to get everyone to just agree. At a certain point, it becomes just, can we just everybody agree? We all want this. And just getting that can be difficult, and which is why bands like the Beatles or whoever, they're phenomenal inspirations for us forever and ever, because they went through some pretty wild tribulations and personal stress that a lot of people just wouldn't put themselves through.
No. No, but so that's a great point, because I think like the heart of what you're saying in terms of like the right kind of activities, or again, these things that make the juice worth the squeeze. What I would posit about things like Twitch is that Ian and I have toured all around the world. So yeah, Ian was talking about like sharpening steel, and our sword is like sharpest when we're like performing live. And it turns out Twitch is a great place to do a 2-hour one take of capturing in fullness your ability to perform, whatever that is. And I would think that if a lot of bands spend their time lip syncing in front of TikTok, shall we say, that process can be really draining, and you're not even kind of getting like reflection of yourself or like reaping what you sow. But on Twitch, when we did that, it's like, because here's the thing, the first time you do a one take of a song or do a stream, it's like hard to like go easy on yourself, right? Everyone has a lot of like inhibitions, but then it's like, it's even harder to love yourself. And a way you can practice loving yourself is to record yourself, because that gives you permission to accept who you are. Like no edit, no filter, no 90 takes in studio. So when we spent the last 4 years doing Twitch, we were basically just performing. We weren't like making content and separating it. It's like, yes, it probably became content, but we're just thinking we're playing a show right now. And that's, even though it's not another country and we have to get into a van to do it, we have stood on our feet for 3 hours in front of lights to an audience playing music. So we really got engaged with the juice that we were squeezing. Was like, we're still playing music, we didn't change to go like, cause like think back to when you were sitting on the edge of your bed playing guitar and stuff. It's like, you weren't thinking post 3 tweets a day, make a video, right? So like this was not why any modern artist did any of this. So when people go like, man, Twitch is kind of interesting that you guys did that. We found and got a way to hold on to like the thing that excites us as artists, which is, playing live.
Yeah, and I'd say it kept us sharp. Like we went from, I honestly don't know, 100 shows a year pre the P word in 2020 and to nothing. And so I couldn't have imagined sitting for the last 4 years you go to the gym every day and then you stop going to the gym and like things start to atrophy, right? And I think for us going on Twitch and being able to perform and even because it's not a room of people, it's still, we're staring right at a camera. I don't actually know I don't care if the joke doesn't land because I kind of don't have to deal with the awkwardness, but equally I learn, did that joke do well?
Yes.
And can I do that live?
But to Warren's point, it's like there's ups and downs in anything you do, 100%. But when you're upping and downing on the live part, you're like, that's okay. I'm doing the live stuff. When there's ups and downs and like, I'd spent 3 hours lip syncing to a video and I had 10 views. That's like, you're going to crater because you're just like, I didn't even want to do it anyway. It didn't get the results I want. Right. So it's like,
Do you guys have a preference? Like you talk about your love of live performance. What about the love of recording the music? Is there, like for me, they're so different. It's such a, like you said about the process, they're different processes, everything. And I love the recording process. Like I love the whole stages and the steps and okay, we're here. I see where we are on the board and I can visualize that. But then live, that's what hooked me in the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
And it still does, right? So that making a connection with people, I think that's what got me as a kid, doing plays and then someone coming up to me after the play and going, oh, man, you were a really cool pig.
Yeah.
Because I played this role called Pollution Pig. And so it was about reducing and reusing and recycling. So there is video of me like in a little piggy outfit out there somewhere.
You're ahead of the times.
Yeah, man, we were pretty radical, and but that I can remember, and even doing selling giant underpants in the next year's play, and people going, "That was funny," and going, "Shit, that's cool."
But see,
it's this, right?
Right.
But if you did a lot of plays, you also know that the tedium of, hey, let's get this take right. Let's like hit our marks, and everyone's got a role to play. So when you go into the studio, you're like
stage people.
And that's the thing. So you get into the studio, and yes, there's lots of plate spinning, but you're kind of used to it because it's like it's exciting that these things can click together to be the show or the album. In this,
it's like improv, and it's if anyone does improv, or it's kind of the play is like organized improv, and then so on and so forth, and. God, I was into poetry as a kid. Were you into poetry? Because you guys have great lyrics.
I mean, like I had a grade 4 teacher who was like every day we would read a different poetry book, and I am not the best lyricist in our band. That really
interesting.
That really is Brock.
Cool.
But I think like I've always liked poetry and I like the word. But a lot of the times when Brock and I sit down and we create, I defer to you,
right?
With a lot of the lyric stuff.
You guys are able to criticize each other. You're able to say, "Listen, I like that, Brock, but could you play this like this?" And you're able to just take it.
Oh, totally.
It's not you're not getting mad at each other or any of that crap.
Yeah, no, and I'm definitely not gonna say because like I think that's normal for bands to have a reaction of, hey, what do you know about guitar parts? Like initially, right? It's like you're coming up with stuff, and it's sort of like, well, you want to fight for it, right? It's like you don't go into this being like, I'm here to be a doormat, just like take my ideas, throw them away. I don't care. Like everyone, of course, they care,
right?
But it's when you try stuff out, then you kind of just know, like, hey, man, like because honesty, if the process is to again drill deep into something authentic, you all kind of know and accept. Like we'll never get to that breakthrough if someone doesn't just say the word, hey, this could be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think through the process, through songwriting, through creating, through being in studio.
So many times together. Yeah.
Well, and you have to check your ego at the door. Like I get that when we play live, I'm the guy on bass. Like I understand that's my role on stage. But in studio, I think other people have played bass on our records more than I have because
ain't no one singing lead vocals though.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Hey.
And it's just like because it's like someone has the instrument in the hand and it's like, do you want to play it? It's like, dude, you're dialed in, just play it. Like, just do the take. And I think it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you're the guitar player, but your singer or your bassist or your drummer has a good idea, the idea is we're in this together. And I get that when you have 5, 6 personalities in the same room, it becomes difficult because there are shades of gray. When it's us, it's black and white. It's yes or no. And we almost don't believe in the word no. We've always said to each other, if you don't like that idea, that's fine, but bring something else to the table.
Yeah,
and you know, I think
that's very improv. That's very, don't say no. You keep the ball up in the air. Yeah. And as long as we keep playing ping pong here, something is going to get juiced out of this.
Yeah.
And
but that's the creative process.
Yeah.
The second you say, hey guys, look at my riff. And then the band goes, no. Well,
that's dead.
You shut. It's like there is no ability to go, oh yeah, what
if?
Yeah, what if? You're like, okay, well, the band doesn't like my song.
Yeah.
So
and then you never learn how to get better.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you work with somebody and you're like, oh, we can change the key. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Or, you know, we could change the tempo. We could change this. We could change that. And all of a sudden, boom, it's a different song, but the same song. And all those kinds of things we learn, I think, like you said, it's really cool. So it said that you work on some boards, Ian, that you do like Indie Week panel, MagFest.
Both Brock and I have done like panelist work. Like we've appeared at different conferences as panelists. I think in the same way that we talk about the different strengths of each member, Brock and I, you know, whenever we try and go to CMW or Indie Week or wherever, we always try and appear as a panelist if possible.
Right.
Because it allows us an opportunity to network. And I think it allows us to sharpen some of our skills against other people as well. You sit in a panel of 4 or 5 people and you go in there with a specific belief about marketing or song creation or data. And, you know, it allows you to share those ideas in real time and not only share what you know to the next generation, which is something that's been really important to us, but you also get to bounce that off of 3 or 4 other industry professionals and get to have those ideas.
Are you guys going to produce other bands in the future, do you think?
I mean, it's a goal, I think, but I think in that it's not to just put a notch in the belt or check the box.
Okay.
I want to, because like, you know, it's like the whole thing of like, I want my Instagram bio to say musician, poet, producer, right? It's like, it's not about, I want to be a producer just for the sake of it. I think if there was someone that we feel could really sort of benefit.
Right.
As because like, I think
organically happening and finding that.
Because, you know, the collaborations we've got to do hasn't really involved producing anyone. We've more or less always worked with people going, hey, you're really good at that. Can you just do that? Right. And I think it would be a good challenge to go, now you can't say that. Now you have to kind of steer.
Yeah.
But because like we've always never steered, we've always been like, well, what do you think? Like it's always been
right.
Well, and you know, I think so at different times we've committed ourselves to different parts of the craft. And so we've spent a lot of time on stagecraft, but equally behind the scenes, we spent a lot of time learning how to be songwriters and bouncing these balls off of a wall and then learning how to do, you know, the literal engineering of stuff. And we have worked with artists as like, hey guys, bring us some of your songs. Let's do some songwriting together. Let's do a bit of pre-production. And it's something that we really enjoy because we like the craft of songwriting. Sure, like Double Experience is a rock band and our songs sound a certain way. But Brock and I are like, we're writing pop songs that like, you know, they might not work for Double Experience. We will find a way to make them work for Double Experience but we find ourselves not being able to stop writing and we always create. And I think it's like, that's the fun part. So being able to produce artists would be a lot of fun. If anyone's listening and you want to do some songwriting, we're Double Experience. Like we've done it before and we love doing it because it is collaborative and you always learn something new.
Cool. And you guys have always, you wrote a bunch of songs with your people on Twitch, right? Like they kind of helped you write the songs or whatever, gave you ideas or concepts.
So some would give like actual lyrics in the chat, like they, and that's where we really learned doing Twitch that like good ideas come from everywhere. Like, because like, you know, again, in a band format, you're just sort of like, well, it's, you know, go down the list of like, who has a suggestion, right? And then you kind of just like, well, that's the best 4 ideas us 4 band members have got. But then on Twitch, you open the floodgates to like real time. And then it goes both ways. You get some great ideas and you get people going, don't do that. That's right. And then you're like, oh,
Interesting.
I liked it. But then you're like, oh, but maybe it's not that great, right? It's okay. And you just throw it away, right? So I think it's like they keep us honest. It's not just like, all right, you guys write the chat and we just sit there and we go, it's now your onus. We're like trying to at least, because really all that started was like, we would have like challenges where we like rip open fortune cookies and we would just have to write the lyric just to prove that, look, we have nothing prepared. Like you saw us break the cookie open. This is the word. We are now going to write a song about that.
Cool.
And then after doing that enough, it was like, okay, now you trust that we're not just like writing Stairway to Heaven off stream and going, hey, I like that like ascending line cliche you're doing, right?
There's a lady who's sure. Yeah, that's really cool.
Like, because like we kind of realized, you'd be like, man, someone could easily just call out like, you guys aren't actually writing this live. But then we started being like, actually, the best songs we have now were like, we wouldn't have them if we didn't. Someone in the chat didn't say, yo, you should actually use this rhyme instead of that rhyme. Ian's like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? And then it's like your song literally improves.
Well, and it's through that collaborative effort that as a creator, like, you know what it's like to create a song, right? And the only thing that you can hope is when you put a song out there, it touches somebody, right? And it becomes meaning to them. And it's been this like weird, in a great way, experience with our fans who have helped us write these songs, where these songs, they never even had to have the trial by fire to have it become their song.
Yeah.
It was their song from the inception of the idea.
Right.
And at that point, it's almost like we have this
became instruments.
Yes. It's like our sacred duty to see their idea through. And then all of a sudden it's like it's their song. It's not a double experience song anymore. It's like, it's our community song. And we just happen to be the vessels that are performing it. And there's something really beautiful about that, especially when they come to the show and you hear them sing those words back, you know they're screaming at the top of their head for them. And that's an amazing, amazing feeling.
Is Undefeated the most recent release?
It is.
Okay, so people out there, check out Undefeated. Alignments, the album?
Yeah, that was 2020.
2020. Check that out. Also, go to their Twitch. I'm going to put links below. And probably be the link tree or whatever these guys have developed, and it will be awesome. So just go and follow these guys on Twitch and write a song with them. Get out and see them live March 12th, or is that old?
So we have a couple. So we have a couple.
I had
tour
the
dates.
Warehouse at St. Ange. I had.
So we've got. We have tour dates in Oshawa, Hamilton, St. Catharines. So we're doing like a small run there. We will be doing a couple tour dates a little bit further. There's a bunch of stuff that is still in the works.
Okay.
We will be announcing shows closer to home as the spring sort of starts to as the snow starts to melt. But we are always posting our tour dates.
Okay.
We're always talking about them online.
Okay.
But yeah, we leave for a short tour in March. I think March 12th is the first show.
Okay, so awesome. Get out there, support them, check them out on their sites, on their website. It's awesome, actually. Like, sometimes I look at bands and I'm researching, and it's a very long process. But you guys have great website, the bio and everything, very good and concise. And congratulations on all the good stuff and more to come. And keep kicking ass. I really hope that we do get to share the stage again soon.
Yeah.
Because it'd be fun. And yeah, thank you out there for watching. We'll see you all again next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.